From the burning mesas of the Arizona desert to the slot machine-clad boardwalks of New Jersey, it's the Imaginarium with Scott and Todd. I'm Scott Colbert.
I'm the horror nerd, Todd Staruch.
And tomorrow is the Grindhouse night at Cafe Z that Todd is the mastermind behind. I guess I can say.
I like that. I prefer
Yeah.
evil mastermind.
Well, uh, take what you can get. Mastermind is good enough for right now. We'll see how it goes.
Exactly. So by the time this gets posted, another Grindhouse Nights event will have taken place. So as usual, I'm in complete abject terror that I have forgotten something very important. Um, and that's how I will be for the next 24 hours.
Well, and since this will be posted after it takes place, congratulations on another successful weekend then. Assuming you don't forget anything important like your pants.
Well, that's usually deliberate, not accidental.
That's part of what they pay to get in to see, is that it?
That's covered under the cover charge.
Okay.
It's under
That's good to know.
entertainment.
Well, I'm gonna have to remember that.
Yeah,
No wonder why Tom Ryan is there all the time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He thinks he's a co-host. No.
Well, let him think what he wants.
Exactly.
It's best to humor him.
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully it'll be a good show. We're hoping for a good turnout. We've got some good films lined up. So we shall see.
Well, good luck with it, and I expect that, as I said, it'll be a success. So, speaking of successes, Tuesday I went to the dermatologist, which I've been telling you about because I had some kind of a growth in my ear. And so they took a look at it. Now, I hadn't been to the dermatologist before. I've really never had a reason to go. I'm long past puberty, so I certainly don't have acne to worry about. And on the window, the check-in window, there is a paper that's posted that says if you're more than 15 minutes late for your appointment, they'll cancel it and you'll have to reschedule, and you'll be responsible for making the payment for the appointment that you missed or that you were late for, in addition to the next appointment, which isn't necessarily unusual. I've seen other doctors' offices do stuff like that before. But they were almost a half an hour late calling me back. But do I get any kind of a discount for my being having to wait? No.
Exactly. Exactly. I've often thought about that at the doctor or the dentist or what have you.
And I get back there, and I wait another 10 minutes or so, and I don't even see a dermatologist. I see a nurse technician, and she says, well, it could be either a precancerous lesion, a melanoma, or skin cancer, or it could be a wart. But we'll just take a bit of it and send it off and see what it is.
Who are you First of all, I don't believe that for a second. The first thing she said was, "Sir, put your pants back on. We're here to look at your ear, okay?"
But my head is usually up my ass, so that's where you need to look.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Good point.
I mean, that's what people tell me all the time anyway, so. Then the nurse practitioner has an assistant nurse practitioner, who takes out this needle that's about as long as my forearm. It seems like. And she says, now this will hurt just a little bit. Well, it didn't necessarily hurt when she was shoving this thing in my ear. but the numbing agent that they were using certainly burned like a motherfucker as it was coming out of the syringe into my ear. But it numbed it almost immediately, and they took their specimen, and I was pretty much on my way. So I'm in the car now. Prior to this, my ear wouldn't stop bleeding. So they were going to cauterize it to get it to stop bleeding. And the assistant nurse practitioner is starting to cauterize it. And I jumped back. She's like, "Could you feel that?" I'm like, "Yes, I could feel that. Stop burning my ear." So she gave me another shot to numb it so she could cauterize it. But the bleeding stopped for whatever reason. That second shot made it stop, or so we thought. So I'm in the car with my mom, and we're heading out for lunch afterwards, and I feel something trickling on my neck, and so I just brush my finger over it, and it's covered with blood. I've got blood gushing out of my ear. So I grab some tissues and shove it in my ear. And finally, by the time we got to the restaurant, it stopped and I got cleaned up. But that was not a pleasant experience. Then I find out it wasn't a piece of it. They took the whole fucking thing off.
Jesus.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm glad they took the whole fucking thing off. I mean, that's fine with me. But I couldn't bandage it, so they've had me put Vaseline on it. So that was my experience this week.
Well, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, I just felt the need to share that because I haven't shared any of my health stories recently. So I thought that was a fun one.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing.
Well,
that's better than the "Hey Doc, does this look infected?" story you told me in private.
Well, and wait till I tell my colonoscopy story in a couple of weeks. That's going to be a barrel of
you didn't order the home colonoscopy kit again.
Yes, I did.
It didn't go so well last time.
Yeah, but there actually is. You can buy a home colonoscopy camera type thing, because that came up as a sponsored post on Facebook for me. Oh, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And I
don't want to know why. That would I just all right. Next.
I thought maybe it was a joke or something, but no, it's an actual. It's a real thing. And so I ordered a dozen just in case.
Fantastic.
I used one. I found Jimmy Hoffa. People are going to go, who's Jimmy Hoffa?
Jimmy Hoffa.
Oh. So anyway, we're going to talk about the Oscars today.
Yes, it's time. It's only 2 days before the annual Hollywood self-masturbatory love fest.
And as I was saying before the show, I haven't seen any of the best pictures, the movies nominated for Best Picture. None of them actually ever, aside from Arrival, which I just haven't managed to see yet, none of the others really kind of piqued my interest. So,
I've actually seen a few of them, and I've also seen a few of the movies that are nominated in other categories. Not necessarily for Best Picture.
yeah.
But I just wanted to see what the buzz was all about when La La Land got 14 nominations. I was like, holy shit, like, wow, 14 nominations. So I'm like, all right, I got to go see this one to see what it's all about. Plus, I love me some Emma Stone. So
And we know how much of a musical fan you are.
Yeah, I do like musicals, and it's been a long time. Like, they don't really make them anymore, so I wanted to check it out. And you know what? I liked it. You know, it was enjoyable. I left the theater feeling pretty good. Was it like 14 Oscar nominations worthy? I didn't feel that way. You know, I wasn't blown away like, oh my God, that is now one of my top 10 films of all time.
Yeah,
You know, it was enjoyable. I really liked it, but but then again, all these award shows got the Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys. They've all seemed to be out of touch for a long time, and it's basically just insiders congratulating one another. If you think about it,
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
necessarily reflect what you and I or the movie going public is really thinking about.
No, because were it up to me, there would be a lot of indie movies up for nominations this year, and certainly, uh, ooh, crap, Deadpool would have been nominated as Best Picture for me. Possibly even Doctor Strange, which I finally saw last night,
Oh, you did, huh? What'd you think?
and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's cool, right?
And it is a trip and a half. It is an acid trip is of a movie.
That it
And
is.
what I liked about it is it's an hour and 45 minutes if you take away the end credits.
Yeah,
And in an hour and 45 minutes, they do an origin story and they tell a decent story in that amount of time. And that was far more interesting and that went by far quicker than 2.5 hours of Batman versus Superman.
exactly.
You know, and it didn't take itself so seriously. And I loved his cape.
Oh, it was
His
cool,
cape was
right?
almost another character.
Exactly. And
Uh,
this is why Marvel continues to kick DC's ass at the movies. Like,
yeah,
all of their movies have a sense of fun, and humor and adventure, and they're not just so relentlessly grim.
yeah. There's only one thing that I had a bit of a bone to pick with it, and now the special effects were absolutely incredible. It just really you you have to see it to believe it. I'm not sure I even describing it would do it justice. It's just really something you have to experience yourself. But there's, excuse me, one scene where he's looking at the Ancient One's book, the Forbidden Book, I suppose you would want to call it, and he's learning how to manipulate time from it. And there's an apple that's on the desk. I don't know if you remember this
Yes,
scene.
yes.
And you have all these other fantastic special effects, but this fucking apple looked like it was stop motion. It looked so bad.
Yeah.
I thought, what the? Did they just like run out of money? And you know,
I think that's what it was. They shot their wad on bending all those buildings and stuff
yeah,
around like Inception.
they didn't have enough to do an apple.
They're like, all right, guys, we're gonna have to go stop motion. We're gonna have to go claymation with the apple. We
And that's
ran out of
exactly
budget.
what it seemed like.
Yeah.
All right, so not just me that
No,
thought
no.
that.
I think a few people noticed that. You know.
Okay, all right. Anyway, it's fantastic movie, and Hummingbird Counting Face does a great job as Doctor Strange,
Yep.
and I was actually really surprised. And he pulls off an American accent pretty damn good too.
He does, and you know why? Again, I think what made it good was he also, you know, he when he was not the superhero, like he played a pretty good arrogant dickbag, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty cool. I dug it.
And Tilda, oddly enough, I don't think I could imagine anyone else as the ancient one other than Tilda Swinton now.
Swinton.
Yeah, she did such a fantastic job.
Yeah, you know, and of course, a lot was made of that. Why they didn't cast an Asian in that category in that role, and
Yeah,
I'm not sure how I feel about that. You know, it's easy for like a white dude to sit back and say, "What's the big fucking deal?" You know. But part of me can say, "Yeah, you know what? You mean there really was no Asian actor or actress out there that could have played that role?" Like Tilda Swinton's great because she's like a chameleon. You know,
Yeah.
she can play just about anything. But I'm thinking like, why bother? You know, there really was no ethnic person who could have played that role. I've read a lot of articles lately about the lack of diversity in Hollywood. Like, is it a real thing? Like, is it a systemic thing, or is it just a reflection of the overall population? I've been doing a lot of work on that. I'm not sure yet how I feel about it, to be honest.
Well, it's funny, and it goes back to something that we actually talked about on the horror roundtable a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
When we talked about diversity, and I think it was Tom Ryan who said, if they don't show up for auditions, what are you going to do?
yeah. No, that's why I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. But we're not privy to the
Yeah,
process. You know.
yeah,
So there's a good article in this week's Entertainment Weekly about it, and it breaks down the percentages and stuff of like women as directors and different ethnicities in various roles. Now here's an interesting one. I went to see The Great Wall with Matt Damon, and that was actually surprisingly good. You know, it was a good action movie. You know,
yeah. That's what I've been
and
hearing.
and yeah, I had a good time. And much was made. Oh, here we go, another whitewash. But it wasn't like that at all. It wasn't like here comes Matt Damon, the white actor, the hero coming to save the day. His character happens to just stumble upon a situation and who just happens to be a mercenary who is just a resourceful guy, and that's how he survives. But the main Chinese characters in the movie handle themselves just fine, you know. Especially the lead role, the lead female role, is a complete badass, you know. So she
Yeah,
certainly didn't need Matt Damon's character to come in and save the day. So I didn't feel like it was a whitewash at all. It's just here's a Caucasian guy who's traveling the world as a mercenary, and he just stumbles upon this ancient conflict. It wasn't like they took a. It wasn't like, let's put it this way, it wasn't like he was playing a general of the Chinese army who's now suddenly played by a white guy, you know?
yeah.
I thought it made sense why his character was there, you know? So I thought that was much ado about nothing with that particular movie.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. The internet just loves to have good outrage, whether they have the facts in front of them or not. So, uh, and it even made a Twitter hashtag, uh, something like Matt Damon taught me, and then it was stupid answers after that. And I admit I kind of got caught up in it when I first heard about the movie and Matt Damon being in it and kind of being the guy who's saving everybody. So I'm actually really kind of glad to hear that it's really fitting in with his character. It's not like they couldn't have gotten an Asian person to play his role. He actually had a reason for being there.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Oh, by the way, I found it. The article is actually on cracked.com,
oh, okay.
which for a comedy site, they're usually spot on with some
Yeah.
of their articles, and their article is 26 ways Hollywood is screwing up the diversity thing. And their entry about Doctor Strange, I'll just read it real quick. In Doctor Strange, the Ancient One, a Tibetan character in the comics, was portrayed by Tilda Swinton. This was due to the fact that Marvel felt the character was a racial stereotype in the comics, and also because casting a Tibetan actress would have pissed off China. The situation was a complicated one, but the ancient one aside, the movie could have still had strong Asian characters. Instead, there's only one prominent Asian character who is mostly used as comic relief. So,
Yeah.
you know what? That it kind of makes sense what they said. You
Yeah.
know, I still think there might be an issue, and it's okay. Like, but it's mostly like white guys like me sitting back and going, ah, bullshit. There's no
Yeah.
problem with diversity in Hollywood. Meanwhile, the fuck do I know? You
Well,
know?
yeah. Well, it's like, a straight people or, non-transgendered people saying there's no problem with transphobia or homophobia or anything. Well, of course you're going to see it that way because you're not on the receiving end of it.
Of course, of
So
course. Yeah.
and that's something that we're going to get into in Mad as Hell next week. But it's the same principle. If you're not part of one of those groups, it's very difficult to talk about it from a realistic point of view.
Yeah, and again, not to hijack this show with that, but just real quick, and again, like you said, we'll bring it up on uh, Mad as
Mad
Hell.
as Hell.
I'm starting to think a little bit differently. I used to be one of these people that slammed my fist when it came to white privilege. I still hate that term. I prefer probably white perspective. You know what I mean? Because look, I'm a straight white guy. That's the only life that I know. So I can't speak to anything else, and that means I probably shouldn't. You know,
Yeah.
I shouldn't probably tell you how to feel, or a trans woman how to feel, or a black woman how to feel. You know, because I
Yeah.
have no idea what life is like for any of you.
Well, and even with uh, you know a trans person, even I don't know how to talk about them or give my perspective on them about what they're going through because you know th- they kind of get included in the gay community, but more often than not, when they go through their reassignment surgery, um, they're straight. You know,
Exactly.
so I don't know that it's really appropriate to put them in with the LGBT category anymore. Uh, that's just my thought on that. Uh, and I forget where I was going with that. So I guess that's probably the fate saying, "Shut up before you blow your load."
Yeah.
Um, all right. So before we get into the Oscars, uh, my mother said to me Sunday, she said, "I just saw the worst movie last night that I've ever seen in my life."
Oh boy.
Yeah, and uh, I asked her what it was, and she said it was Human Centipede.
Oh God.
Human Centipede 3, excuse me. And she watched it only because Eric Roberts was in it.
Oh
She's got
God.
she has a thing for Eric Roberts, and she said I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and I said if it was so bad, why didn't you watch something else? She's like, I couldn't stop watching it. It was so bad it was funny.
Yeah, the third. Look, let's face it. As much as I enjoyed the first two, they're not like good movies, quote unquote, in the
Yeah.
strict sense of the word. But even as far as the trilogy was concerned, I thought the third one was really bad.
Yeah, and they're the kind of movies that I'm not going to tell my 76, almost 76-year-old mother, well, go ahead and watch the first two. Those are
Yeah.
better. Yeah, I'm just not going to do that because I don't, I don't want to get an angry, what the hell did you make me? I'm
Yeah,
not going to.
exactly. What did
Okay.
you tell me to
Well,
watch?
I'll give her another heart attack, God forbid. She's watching that. No,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. So I just thought it was kind of funny that she ended up watching, out of all the movies to watch, she picked that one. So,
Way to go, mom.
yeah. Well, apple doesn't fall very far from the tree.
This is true.
So. All right. Let's get into the Oscars if we have
Okay.
to. So, all right. Let me bring up a list of them so I can look at them.
All right.
I actually probably should have done that already, but Oscars
As usual, folks, we do a lot of
2017.
prep for this show.
Yeah.
Wait, what were we talking about today? Let me look it up. My prep consists of like turning the computer on.
Oh yeah, pretty much. And sending you the link
Like, all right,
get on the show.
let's wing it as usual.
Okay. All right. Well, let's start with the. I wanted to talk about the writing because
Okay.
being a writer, I always thought those were two of my favorites. And for the writing, we have for original screenplay, Hell or High Water, La La Land, The Lobster, Manchester by the Sea, and 20th Century Women. Now, I know Hell or High Water is a Western, and I know the others. I don't know 20th Century Women. I have no idea what that's
Me
about.
either. I'm not familiar with that one at all.
I've heard a lot about The Lobster.
Which
I
was
heard,
very good, by the way. I liked it a lot.
yeah, that's what I've heard too.
Very quirky and weird.
It's on my list. Now, see, I'm at the Oscars website, and it shows all of the nominations, but for the writing, it doesn't give the name of the
Oh, of
writer.
who wrote it?
Yeah,
That's weird.
and they did that for a director too,
Huh.
but they do it for all the music, bastards. All right,
Those
so
sons of bitches.
yeah,
Fucking writers never get any respect.
all right, so I'm for the original screenplay. Um, I'd like to see the Western Hell or High Water win, but it's probably going to be La La Land or Manchester by the Sea, but I'll go with La La Land.
Yeah, that's my prediction as well. Unfortunately, again, I think I'm getting the impression that this is going to be one of those Oscar sweeps years. Um, Look, it was good. I Damien Chazelle directed it and also wrote it, and I thought it was a great job. But if I was going to go with true like originality, I would just pick The Lobster because I never really came across a story like that. And people are always talking about originality.
Yeah.
Well, and for those of you listening who are not familiar with The Lobster, it's about a guy, who lives in this sort of oddball universe where if you're not, if you're not romantically entangled with somebody, according to the laws of the city, um, a single person has 45 days to find a romantic partner, or they're transformed into an animal and sent off into the woods. So Colin Farrell plays a guy who, if he doesn't find a partner, he's going to be turned into a lobster. Um, and he starts to think that that might not be such a bad idea. And it's just quirky and interesting, and it's a very offbeat love story, you know. And I liked it a lot. So if I had my druthers, I would say I would hope that it would win. But yeah, I agree. I think La La Land is going to win. I also saw Manchester by the Sea, which was very, very good. Um, and deserving of the nomination as well. But I think it's going to be La La Land.
Yeah. I think it's going to be another Chicago year. Remember when Chicago won?
Sure. Yeah.
It
Sure.
swept everything. And that was only just an okay adaptation an average musical.
Yeah.
All right, writing adapted screenplays: Arrival, Fences, Hidden Figures, Lion, and Moonlight. Now, Arrival I know, and Fences I know. Hidden Figures I'm not familiar with. Lion I don't know, and I just heard about Moonlight over the last couple of weeks. As they were making an Oscar push for it. So I'm gonna go with Arrival.
Well, Hidden Figures I just saw recently. Hidden Figures is excellent. It's a story of about three female mathematicians who
Oh, it's
helped
that
with the
one. Okay.
moon landing. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. It's
like
that one.
behind the scenes,
Right.
the women actually did all of the work, but because of racism and sexism, never got any credit for the fact that they were basically the ones who figured out how to send people to the moon and get them back alive. You know.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it was very very good. Um, I think though I am gonna agree with you and go with Arrival just because I think out of all of them it was sort of the most popular one.
Yeah.
Um, although I'm gonna make maybe like I was gonna make like kind of an unusual prediction. I wonder if to kind of address this whole diversity issue, they might end up giving it to Hidden Figures like as a statement. It would be too bad if they did that because if it's gonna win, it should win on merit.
Right.
You know, not
Well,
because let's give it.
if
So
they're gonna do that, then it would probably go to Moonlight, which has African Americans and gay African Americans in it.
that's true.
So you get two for the price of one on that one.
Yeah, that's true.
So we'll see how that one goes, but I'll still stick with Arrival.
All
Um,
right. Yeah.
and real quick, visual effects. Doctor Strange was nominated, and I can't imagine that not winning. Uh, Even compared to Rogue One and they've got Kubo on the two strings, and I'm not sure why that's in there because it's an animated movie.
Yeah, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Jungle Book I thought was also an amazing technical achievement. So I'm gonna actually go with Jungle Book on this one.
All right. Okay.
So can't agree with you on everything, Scott. Jeez.
Oh, fuck you. Don't you know my opinion is the only one that counts?
That's true.
All right. Let's see. Directing, since I've scrolled up to that. Uh,
Okay.
we have Arrival, Hacksaw Ridge, La La Land, Manchester by the Sea, and Moonlight. Now, what do you think?
Listen, what do I think should win versus who I think will win?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be Damien Chazelle for La La Land. I think it's going to be a sweep. I think that movie's going to pick up a lot of awards. Um, I would probably prefer to see Kenneth Lonergan for Manchester by the Sea. Just because I thought while Damien did a great job with La La Land, it was more difficult, I think, to make that movie than people realize. Manchester by the Sea was more subtle. It's a more deep and touching story, and I think he handled it really well. So I would vote for Kenneth Lonergan, but I think it's going to be La La Land.
I think it might be Hacksaw Ridge. I think it might be Mel Gibson.
You
And
think so?
yeah, I, I think if he gets it, it's going to be because Hollywood wants to show that it's all inclusive and it's forgiving, and that anybody can change their ways. Even though I don't think he has. We've talked about that on other shows, but I think it might. Uh, that's going to be the surprise pick for me. I think it's going to go to Mel Gibson. Um, as far as who I want to win, I really I don't actually have a favorite among them. Um, so I'm just going to keep it with Hacksaw Ridge.
All right,
Uh,
cool.
yeah,
Look, we talked about this before. I think Mel Gibson is really good at directing action movies. You know, uh, his personal issues aside, like you're right. Hollywood does love to. They love their own, and they still give awards to Roman Polanski.
yeah,
So, you know,
yeah.
so we'll see.
We will see.
The dark horse pick from Scott Colbert.
Boy, I wish I would have money to bet on that. I'd probably make a fortune. Actress in a supporting role: Viola Davis for Fences, Naomi Harris for Moonlight, Nicole Kidman for Lion. I didn't even know she was still acting. I haven't seen her anything in
Yeah, me either.
forever. You know, Octavia Spencer for Hidden Figures, and Michelle Williams for Manchester by the Sea. That's a tough category.
It is. You know what? I think Viola Davis is way overdue. I think she's a fantastic actress. I did not see Fences, just to be fair, but I just think as far as acting goes, she's so good, and I think she's way overdue. So I'm going to go with Viola Davis. Having said that, Octavia Spencer wouldn't surprise me because her performance in Hidden Figures was great, which I did see. But I'm going to go Viola Davis just because it's going to be one of those sort of body of work awards,
Yeah,
you know? But that doesn't mean she's any less deserving of it.
yeah. Because let's face it, a lot of people who get Oscars, they usually get it for the movies they don't deserve it for.
This is true.
So and I'm going to agree with you on that one. That's pretty much what I was going to say. Uh, it's not the white woman's year this year.
Yeah.
No, it's just not going to be. And I've never heard anything about the Lion, the movie Lion with Nicole Kidman. I don't know what it's about. I don't know what her character is, and I'll pretend that I care, but I really don't. I may look it up later and see what it's about. But
Well,
you know,
it's an intriguing story, and I do want to see it. But it's about a little boy who gets separated from his parents in India, and then he gets adopted by a couple in Australia, which I guess is where Nicole Kidman comes in. She must be the adoptive mother. And then 25 years later, using only like Google Maps, he tries to figure out where he came from, and he tries to go back and find his family. So
interesting.
yeah, that's the premise of the story. So I had heard about it, and again, like there's so many movies I would love to have seen, and just didn't.
Yeah, actor in a supporting role. Uh, Jesus, what is that name? Maher Mahershala
Ali.
Ali for Moonlight. Jeff Bridges, Hella High Water. Lucas Hedges, Manchester by the Sea. Dev Patel for Lion. And Michael Shannon for Nocturnal Animals. And Jeff Bridges all the way. I just like Jeff Bridges, so
All right, that's fair. Mahershala Ali, like he's gone through more name changes because his actual first name is like 27 letters long or something like that. He's one of those guys you see his face and you go, "Oh yeah, that's that guy," you know, because he's been on a
yeah.
bunch of TV shows and a bunch of movies. He was fantastic in Moonlight, very understated, but very well done. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with him. Again, Scott, I really hope this is the law of unintended consequences. Hollywood has been getting beat up now for years about inclusion and diversity, and I really do hope that as more and more actors and actresses of color and women start winning awards, I hope they're not pity awards,
Yeah.
or almost like affirmative action awards, for lack of a better term. And this is going to sound horrible. Folks, direct all your hate mail to Scott Colbert,
No, I
care
get
of the
enough. I get
Imaginarium.
enough.
um,
It's time for
but
you to get some.
yeah, I mean that's fine. But I really do hope it's not like if Hollywood really is full of like douchebags, like, oh geez, we better give it to the black guy, so everyone will just shut up already. You know,
Yeah.
I would hate to think that there would be that kind of backlash, but you never know.
Yeah, that's true. You don't. You never know. And it's not like that's never happened in Hollywood before, and it's not like it won't happen in the future. Uh, that's just, unfortunately, that's just how it is in this country. And I hate to sound so pessimistic and resigned about it, and with not going too deep into it really, but I just don't see this ever really changing very much. So
Well, you know what? If anything, Scott, I think it'll change organically. If you think about it, over our country's history, look, racism. We're not that far removed from true segregation. You will
yeah,
always have individual people who are going to be racist. That's not going anywhere, you know? But if you think about it, like we don't have separate water fountains anymore. So like slowly over time, things really do change. And like the true racists, they become known and you're like, "Oh, look at that fucking guy." Like, God, what a jerk, you know? And they
yeah,
sort of get ostracized. So I think over time it hopefully it will all just filter itself out, and when someone wins an award, it's because and no one even thinks otherwise. It's like, "Oh yeah, because they deserved it." You
yeah.
know? And there would never be any other thought about it.
Well, from your lips to the universe's
We
ears.
can
Let's hope
hope.
that
Damn
happens.
it.
Yeah. Hopefully in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't bet money on that one.
All right, what's
Um,
next?
Actress in a leading role: Isabel Huppert for Elle. Ruth
I don't know how to say it either, so I'll say nega,
Nega.
I guess.
Negan. Ruth Nega for Loving. Natalie Portman for Jackie. Emma Stone, La La Land, and Meryl Streep for Florence Foster Jenkins. And another movie I've never fucking heard of, Florence Foster Jenkins.
That's actually a true story about a woman who can't sing but thinks that she can, and just through sheer like gumption makes it to Carnegie Hall. And because people don't want to tell her no. Um,
Oh, that's
but
funny.
but look, this is probably the we have to include Meryl Streep in this category
Yeah.
kind of a thing. I didn't see the movie, but I had no desire to see it. you know, um, it's not like fucking Sophie's Choice.
Yeah. That actually um, amuses me, that little description of it. I may have to seek that out because that sounds like it could be a good little bit of fun.
Yeah, no, I'll eventually get caught up and I'll watch it. It just wasn't, it
Yeah,
wasn't terribly high on my list.
definitely not in my must see in the next 2 or 3 days. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think this one's going to be Emma Stone all the way. I think again, La La Land is going to take award, but I won't be upset about it. Like if she does get it, I think it's deserving. She did do a really good job in the movie. I thought her performance was very good.
okay. Now I did see Elle. I did see Isabel Huppert's performance, and as I've said when I talked about it on this show and on Weekday Matinee, uh, she makes that movie. Her performance in that movie as a not only a rape victim, but as a woman who's I almost want to say a rape perpetrator because she purposely put herself in a position to be raped by the same man time and time again, until she finds out who it is, and then she ends up starting a relationship up with him. Uh, in It's a Paul Verhoeven movie, as if you couldn't tell just from that little bit I mentioned.
Yeah.
Uh, but her performance, I think, is actually one of the top 10 performances by a woman in any movie ever made. It's that
Wow.
good. Yeah.
All right, you know what?
And
You talked about this on a previous show, and I'm gonna have to see it. It's on Amazon. I'm gonna
yes,
have to stream it.
yeah, definitely check it out, and I'll be curious to see what you think about it. So
I
that's my
definitely will.
pick for who I think will win and who I hope will win because she really deserves it, and she did win the Golden Globe for it.
Okay, that's usually a
So that
decent indicator.
yeah, and so I think she's got that kind of momentum, and she's been around a long time. She's very well respected. She's a French actress, uh, so she's got that going for her. And Emma Stone is still fairly young, and she's got plenty of other chances to win awards. I think it's going to be Isabel. I hope so. There we
All
are
right,
on that one.
cool.
Okay, actor in a leading role: Casey Affleck, Manchester by the Sea; Andrew Garfield for Hacksaw Ridge; Ryan Gosling for La La Land; Viggo Mortensen for Captain Fantastic; and Denzel Washington for Fences. And again, there's a movie I'd never heard of, Captain Fantastic. I thought they meant the Elton John album. So,
Yeah, well, that's one. I know what it's about, but I haven't seen it. It's about a guy who like raises his family in the woods, like completely cut off from technology and society. And then something happens. I don't know what. I don't really know that much about it. Where they have to move back into like civilization, and it's now how do these people adjust?
mm.
That's kind of what I know about it.
that,
Um,
that sounds similar to the concept to The Room from last year. Where they have to readjust to society after being out of it for so long. Of course, the mother and son were locked up in a room,
yeah, exactly.
but that kind of fish out of water type thing.
Yes, yes, yes.
So,
Um, so who did you
oh,
say?
I think Casey Affleck's going to win it. Uh, the buzz has been too strong about him consistently, but
And I hear, you know what, and I would agree with you. Like, but I've been reading articles, and I don't entirely know what the whole controversy is about. But he got like accused of sexual harassment or
yeah,
something from years
yes.
ago, or something, and now they're thinking that that might affect his chances. I don't really know much about the case. Just being honest, I didn't really care enough to do that much work, looking for it. I really don't know what it's all about.
Yeah, and now that you mention that, I do remember seeing some stuff about that over the last month and a half or so. I still think he's going to win it. I I would love to see Andrew Garfield win it for a couple of reasons. Uh, Number one, to prove to people that he's a fantastic actor. You know, because one of the main criticisms when he was Batman was about or not Spider-Man, excuse me, uh, was his performance as Spider-Man in it, and I thought he got a bum rap for that. And he was also in the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus, and I thought he was just aces in that. So I hope he wins.
Yeah, so I just looked it up real quick. Apparently, there were two lawsuits from the past that have since been settled. And one was an actress claimed that he got into bed with her while she was asleep, and another one where some other actress wanted to leave his hotel room, and he grabbed her by the arm, to try to get her not to leave. This is just high level. I'm just scanning an article,
Yeah.
so I don't know. Maybe that will change some minds. Who knows? I'm gonna just because I'm gonna go with. I'm just gonna go with Denzel. I think he's gonna get the hat trick. Um, just because. And other than that, I got nothing.
Makes sense. All right.
That's
And
my pick, and I'm sticking with it.
dun, 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 Best Picture. We have Arrival, Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, Hidden Figures, La La Land, Lion, Manchester by the Sea, and Moonlight. It's probably going to be La La Land, but I wouldn't be surprised if Hacksaw Ridge snuck in and became a dark horse to win that too.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting. I am convinced it's going to be La La Land. But it could, like, if it was Manchester by the Sea or Moonlight or Hidden Figure, like, for me, even with the ones I hadn't seen, for me this year, I think all of them are like deserving. Like, if any of them won, I wouldn't like flip the table and
Yeah,
go, "That's outrageous! What the fuck are these people thinking?" You know.
yeah.
Uh, but I do think it's going to be La La Land just because of the buzz and the 14 nominations and blah blah blah. I think Best Actress, Best Director, and Best Picture are all going to go to La La Land. Having said that, I probably will not be watching the Oscars.
I can tell you most definitely I won't be watching it. I'll be checking on the internet, of course, to see who's winning, but I can't put myself through 3 hours of that much jizz in one room.
Yeah.
I just,
And you know what? Tell me, tell me if I'm well. That's I was going to say tell me if I'm crazy, but I'm aware of the answer.
well, yeah,
Yeah. But it used to be better in the past, the Oscars, wasn't it? I mean, like when I was younger, I used to actually look forward to it.
you know
Now
what
it's
it
just it does nothing for me now. I just don't care anymore.
you know what it is. It's the And I know people are going to say, "Oh, Scott, you're just dwelling in the past and romanticizing everything." But I think it's the caliber of the actresses and actors. Uh, there are no real stars. There's no Jack Nicholson or Betty Davis or the closest we have anymore is Meryl Streep. It's kind of
Yeah.
the last grasp of, of that kind of uh, glamour. It's Hollywood is very different than what it was 20, 30 years ago, and I think that's probably why they're not nearly as enjoyable. Honestly, if you remember the Oscars show that Rob Lowe uh, was on and he was dancing with Snow White, and how
Yes.
awful that show was. It never really quite recovered after that.
Yeah, and who doesn't remember David Letterman bombing
Yeah,
mercilessly?
yeah. You know
Yeah,
when
I agree.
yeah when Billy Crystal is the best host that you can think of over the last 20 years. They've taken a detour somewhere.
Exactly. And now, you know what? Hollywood, people seem to have forgotten that Hollywood has always been political. You
Yeah,
know, you had, Marlon Brando sending, Sacheen Littlefeather up to the podium and like different political things over the years. But now, like, when I'm reading articles, where they're taking like over and under about how many times like someone's going to make an anti-Trump remark, that's not like if I was going to watch the Oscars, that's not why I'm going to watch it. Like, I'm not one of these people that thinks that actors don't have a right to speak their mind. But if I am going to watch the Oscars, I'm looking for like the glamour and the
yeah.
glitz. I want to see what the ladies are wearing and and what the musical numbers are going to be. I don't really care like on that particular night like who doesn't like Donald Trump, you know?
Yeah. I want to see a streaker again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh,
You know?
David Niven.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it is they're just not fun. It's a labor to get through it, and even people who attend feel that way. And when you've got an audience full of people who are just dreading sitting there for 3 hours, that's really going to create an atmosphere of you know not having a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. For me growing up, it was like a family night, like
Yeah.
oh the Oscars are
Oh,
on. My grandmother, my mom were really into it. Again, they wanted to see the dresses and the jewelry, and you had like to me. you had like Hollywood, like there was a lot more star power then, like you said,
Yeah.
or even like the couples, Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward, and all these real. It was they really were movie stars. I just don't feel it today. And you're right, I'm stuck in the past. I admit it.
Yeah, and if you look at, who's up there for Best Actor and Best Actress, none of them, fit that, old star quality. Ryan Gosling's a good actor, but, he's certainly not like a Robert Redford or a Paul Newman.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think they just carried themselves in a different way,
Yeah.
the ones from that golden era, and the ones,
You know what
even the
I think?
ones. Go
I,
ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt. You know what I
No,
think
yeah,
it is back then we didn't have as much access to them, so there was an air of mystery to them, and
yeah, that's a good point.
and we only saw them maybe during an interview on the Carson show, because we didn't have 24-hour cable back then,
True.
entertainment channels, and now we're just so oversaturated with them. The mystery about them is gone. We know it. Yeah, we pretty much know every time they take a shit, at a McDonald's. So, that aura is long gone.
Yeah, you're right, and I don't think I ever mentioned this on the show. I can't believe I didn't never brought it up. This was maybe God, 25 years ago, maybe longer. I ran into on the street. I ran into coming out of a coffee shop was Lauren Bacall,
Oh wow.
because she lived up on the Upper East Side, in the last couple decades of her life, and I was so starstruck. I didn't even know what to say, you know. Um, but you're right, because I hadn't seen her in my face 24/7. There was no internet then, or
Yeah.
cable TV wasn't big yet. It was like you're right. It was Now she was already older by then, but still very glamorous, movie star. And I was like, oh my God, Lauren Bacall, Um, and I just sort of smiled and said hello, and she just walked past me, and I'm like, stupid, stupid. But I think you hit it on the head. We now with internet and TMZ and all this stuff, we know, and they even tell their publicists where they're going to be.
Yeah.
It's no coincidence that when they get out of a car, there's paparazzi everywhere. You know,
And you look at somebody like Harrison Ford. There's always more excitement when people see him because he doesn't live in Hollywood.
right,
He
right.
lives in fucking Montana or somewhere, and he stays out of it. And so there's always a bigger brouhaha when he's around pimping something. And I kind of like that. And I guess maybe you could call Harrison Ford on the tail end of some of that glamour. Although honestly, I never really considered him a great actor. I never really have.
No, no, he's not. He took roles that were very good for him, you
Yeah.
know, and made him a goddamn icon, you
Yep.
know. Han Solo and Indiana Jones. Period. End of story. you know. Um,
Exactly.
I liked Air Force One. I liked Regarding Henry. But he's Indiana Jones. I
Yeah.
mean, that's it.
And that's and he's going to be that until the day he dies.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Ab- no, absolutely not. Actors would kill to be able to do that.
It's so interesting about that. Like think back of like certain interviews, like Bob Denver was always very bitter that people thought of him as either Gilligan or Maynard G. Krebs,
Yeah.
But then in an interview, Mark Hamill, somebody, the interviewer asked him, "Do you ever get upset that like you're really only known for being Luke Skywalker?" And he's like, "Are you kidding? Why would I be upset by that? Like people run up to me and go, 'Oh my God, it's Luke Skywalker!' Like I'm Luke Skywalker. Why would I be upset by that?" You know?
Yeah, he's made a career out of that.
Yeah.
You know, and he does all the conventions and everything, or he used to anyway. I don't know if he still does them. But he made that movie and he was set for life. You know,
Yeah,
how
it's
can you not be grateful for that?
yeah, well, look, I guess some of them, I mean, just see it differently. I know that when I met Walter Koenig, who played Chekhov, he seemed like very, very bitter that his only real success was as Chekhov from Star Trek. And I'm thinking, dude, it's 30 years later, and people are still online to talk to you and get your autograph because you were Chekhov,
Yeah,
not because you were the doorman in some obscure film from 1979. Like.
yeah.
So I don't know. Until I live that life, I guess I have no right to criticize.
Yeah. Well, I know, I kind of know what it's like because, everybody just, I can't walk down the street without people thinking I'm a sex god.
I know it must be
You know,
tough.
it is. I'll be 52. I can't perform on command like I used to. I'm not 18 anymore. You have to give me a month to get ready now. But, that, you know, that that still follows me. It'll haunt me till the day I die. Just
I know it's a
being a
tough
sex
life,
god.
dude. I don't know how you do it.
That's why I stay in.
Eh.
I can't deal with my adoring public, and my dick needs a rest. See,
and
we,
and
we,
some
we were doing
and some
so well.
antibiotics apparently.
We were doing so well up to this
We
point.
were, and we
I should.
almost stayed on the road. Almost, almost.
Well, I think people would be disappointed if we didn't veer off
Exactly.
somewhere.
And on
And
that note,
yes, on that note, if you enjoyed this, check out the
there's
other
something
shows.
wrong with you, but
Well, that goes without saying. Uh, well, I know before I get into my patented ending, what were your picks for the Oscars this year? And were there movies that you wanted to see nominated or actors that you wanted to see nominated that weren't? Let us know in the comments section. And check out the other podcasts, including the Imaginarium with this douchebag and myself.
thank you.
Matt, well, I just realized we were doing the Imaginarium. For some reason, I was thinking mad as hell.
And I wasn't
But
even that angry this time.
but check out Mad as Hell with myself, Todd, and Kyle Fulton. That's every weekend. And of course, weekday matinee with myself and Jory Chanda, which is every month. And until next time, may all of your journeys be filled with pure imagination.